everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2021 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon with the AEV kit. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Gladiator. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the Gladiator, we have a naturally aspirated 3.6 liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 285 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque. And then in terms of the axle ratio, it's actually been upgraded from 410s to 4.56. Let's go over the front end of the AEV Gladiator. So first off, the hood on the Gladiator is pretty much the same, except AEV has added this like matte black striping that goes all around the hood, and then you got the little AEV logo on it. So you still get the cool sport venting, all that kind of stuff. Still get the regular latches, full LED lights, and then you've got the LED turn signals as well. Fog lights here in this little area, which is part of the AEV bumper, which looks absolutely fantastic, super aggressive. It does hide the Jeep grille, but I still think it looks really good. You've got these really cool LED lights, which are actually hidden by these covers, which is nice. Most manufacturers, basically, they'll just give you lights with no covers, but it's cool if you're not using them, then you can have them covered up to protect them, especially from like rocks and debris that would come up and hit them and potentially crack them. You've got a winch just down below, but yeah, overall, the front end on this is super aggressive, and I'm kind of in love with it. Let's go over the tire and wheel setup here on the side. So we've got 17-inch wheels, and wrapped around that we've got 37s. They look absolutely fantastic. They are so massive. And then in terms of the suspension setup, we've got 2.5-inch dual sport RT suspension. So you guys can kind of see what that looks like. And look at the pattern here on the tires, just super aggressive. But you can see this definitely sits a lot higher because of the tires, but then also because of the suspension compared to a stock Gladiator, and it looks just amazing. Whoop. Now let's pop into the back of the Gladiator. So first off, we have a full spray-in liner here in the back, which looks really nice. Full LED bed lights. And we've got a tire here in the back. So it's on a tire carrier. Does it look cool? Yes. Is it functional? Yes. Do I love it? 100% yes. Like, just, I don't know, look at that. There's something about tires in the back of vehicles that just look cool to me. Let's go over the rest of the rear. So you still get the full LED lights here in the back of the Gladiator. You can still see you've got the painted fenders there on the back. And then we just have the standard bumper here in the back. No AEV bumper like the front. Still get the red tow hooks on either side. And the receiver hitch down below with the parking sensors. I love this little touch here from AEV. So they've got like the black vinyl between the lights. I think it looks really good. Just nicely contrasts the Hydro Blue. My only complaint with this Gladiator is I'm just not a fan of the black hardtop. I would rather this be body colored than black. That's just, but I mean, that's from Jeep, that's not from AEV, but like still, I just don't like the look of that. Well, now let's kind of pop into the back. So down here we've got the soft touch there with the stitching all across and the netting down below, and then on the back of the seat, well, you got a normal stuff right there. Got the AEV headrests with the regular Rubicon seats with all the nice stitching, and then we have a bunch of goodies back here, which is the reason why I can't get into the back. It's even cool they give you like a full, like this is so cool, it's like a hiking bag. And then yes, you still get the vents, the window controls, all that kind of stuff in the center. And trust me guys, I want to pop in the back, but like I also don't want to pull out all this stuff because I'm kind of lazy. So we're just gonna leave it at that. So yeah. Now let's go over the door panel here at the front. So we've got all the nice soft touch there with the red stitching, and then you've got the little door handle right here with the mirror adjustments, the door lock and unlock. And then coming to the seats, you've got the AEV logo at the top with the Rubicon logo just down below. And then as for the rest of the seats, really nice soft touch all throughout. And then you can see that you've got the nice bolsters down here with the stitching. The seats are manually adjustable. Got the pedal layout here at the bottom, and then we've got the light controls just up here. You've got your fog lights and your cargo light. The steering wheel is manually adjustable, and there's one more look before we pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. So you've got the nice stitching there in the center. You've got the cruise control on this side. You've got the controls for the center stack, and then your voice command and phone controls over there on that little side with the giant Jeep logo on there in the center. Got a little stock there for the turn signal, and on the other side you've got the stock for the windshield wipers. Radio controls are on the back of the steering wheel, and well, that's the steering wheel. Now here in the center, we do have the gauges. So you've got the RPMs on the left side. On the right side, you've got the speed, and those are kind of like the custom gauges from AEV. I think they look really cool. And then here in the center screen, completely unchanged. It's just like any of the other Gladiators. They haven't changed anything, so you still get all of the same functions there in that little center screen. Now coming to the infotainment system, first off, if we pop it into reverse, you still get your regular backup camera. You can still zoom in down on the receiver hitch if you do want to hook up to a trailer. Trajectory line still. Turn with the steering wheel, still get really good resolution. So again, nothing's changed with that. As for the rest of the screen, you still get your heated seats and your heated steering wheel. You still get the navigation function. Screen response time is still really good. And this also does come with the off-road pages, which while those are loading up, down below we've got our analog controls for the radio. You've got your analog controls for the climate system. It is a dual zone climate system. And you do have your heated seat and heated steering wheel controls, and you've got little animation right there happening with the off-road pages. As you guys can see, response time's really good on this little part of it too, but just gives you different bits of information on the Gladiator, on the off-road. Finishing things down here, we've got a screen on or off button. You've got your off-road cruise control, your parking sensors, stability control, auto stop start, and then the mute. In this little area, you've got our window controls, and then you've got a little media area right here with the 12 volt. And then you do have auxiliary switches, which are nice because when you add items like what this has with the lights in the bumper, well, you can just hook it up to one of the auxiliary buttons. And then since this is a Rubicon, you do get front and rear lockers. You've got the off-road plus and then the sway bar disconnect. And then as for the driveline, we've got the 2-wheel high, the 4-wheel high, the neutral, and the 4-wheel low, which is pretty interesting because I just reviewed a Wrangler Rubicon today that has the AEV package, and it has the 4-wheel auto and then the 4-wheel part-time. So it's pretty interesting. This is a little bit different with the driveline. And then you do have the shifter for the 8-speed automatic. It's got the nice leather and the stitching, and then it does have a manual shift function. We've got our shifter here with the red stitching, couple cup holders right here with the key holder, and then for the center console, got the storage space there. Pretty good, just like any other Gladiator or Wrangler. Got the nice red trim there on the dash, and then opening up the glove box, it's a normal glove box. More of that red stitching all over the top portion. And then finishing things up here at the very top, we do have the removable top here, so you just use these little things to take that off, and then the rest you do need tools for, but it's not too hard. And this one does have the insulation, which I always recommend to get in Gladiators and Wranglers to help with the wind noise. We've got the window sticker here on the window for this AEV Gladiator, so feel free to freeze the frame, and sorry if it doesn't fully focus. It's kind of being a little bit weird because this is on a window. But yeah, feel free to freeze the frame so you guys can read all of the options that this has from the factory and all the stuff that AEV has added to it as well. So you guys can see the total price there is $76,136. And with all that being said, well, let's take this gigantic Gladiator Rubicon AEV package out and see how it drives. Talk about visibility before we set off here in this AEV Gladiator. So first off, visibility over the hood, it's really solid, just like any other Gladiator. Nothing's changed with that. And you got visibility through both of the mirrors, which they do have blind spot monitoring, and that's really good. And visibility through the rear, well, obviously we've got all these boxes in the way, but boxes aside, the tire carrier does get in the way on that part, so you do have a little bit of a blind spot because of that, but otherwise the visibility is unchanged. And that all being said, well, let's set off. Well, now we are setting off here in the AEV Gladiator, and well, most of this is going to be talking about the suspension. I'm going to do a lot of comparisons to the AEV Wrangler that I just drove, and that's kind of the nice thing about driving things back to back is you can just directly compare them to each other. The first thing I'm noticing is this one's blue. No, just kidding. But actually getting up and going, this one I'm noticing you do feel quite a bit more through the tires. This one has a little bit different tire setup. They both have 37s, but this one has like the mud tires that are really aggressive, and so I definitely feel a lot more through this compared to the Wrangler that I just drove. And the other thing that I'm noticing with this is I do hear a little bit more tire noise, but that's kind of expected with this type of tire, so it's not like that's anything groundbreaking. The brakes feel, it almost feels like it stops a little bit slower, but I mean, it is a Gladiator, so it is a little bit heavier compared to the Wrangler, and you definitely feel the size difference. Like, I can very easily perceive the difference in length and everything with this compared to the Jeep Wrangler. The Wrangler felt like a lot smaller, whereas this, it feels bigger, and it makes it drive differently. So the Wrangler kind of had this small zippy feel, whereas this definitely feels a little bit more substantial. There's a little bit less body roll with this, and they've got the same suspension setup, so it's like nothing's changed with that. But this, you have a little bit more stability, so like on the off-road, that you're gonna be able to get into places a little bit easier, whereas this, since it's a little bit longer, when you're at higher speeds, it's just gonna be a little bit more stable compared to the Wrangler. Yeah, those brakes are pretty solid. I don't know, maybe this is just in my head, but feels like this also rides just a little bit rougher. The Wrangler seemed like it was a little bit smoother, but I'm gonna kind of write that off again to the tires. These tires definitely are not necessarily the best thing for on-road use. They're fantastic on the off-road, but on-road, definitely not the best. And we're gonna get our minor acceleration to see how this re-gearing did. Revs up nicely. So I'm partial throttle there. And it's feels slightly slower than a stock Gladiator, but not by much. It feels pretty similar. And let's get our full-blown acceleration here. Yeah, there's just a lot less body roll with this one. Yeah, it really doesn't feel that much slower than a stock Gladiator. It feels about the same, so the re-gearing just, well, it fixed the fact that this has a little bit higher suspension and it has a lot more tire to move. And that'll get me into summing things up with this AEV Gladiator. So first off, from an exterior aesthetics perspective, I actually prefer the look of the AEV Wrangler to this Gladiator, proportion wise and everything, but I still think this looks really good. Definitely has a cool off-roader look to it. And then in terms of the interior, it's just like any other fully loaded Jeep Gladiator interior, so it's good, it's nice. And then in terms of the ride, I really felt like that Wrangler rode a lot smoother. It felt like it was just I don't know how to explain it, but like it just felt like that one, I would rather here's the thing for me to say, I would rather off-road in that than in this. This is great, this looks cool, it's a little bit more practical because it has a truck bed, but if I was gonna spend almost $80,000, like the Wrangler was actually $80,000, if I was gonna spend $80,000 on an off-roading vehicle, I would go for that Wrangler over this Gladiator because it just drove a little bit better. I prefer the proportions on it. And I mean, capability wise, we know it's going to be a little bit better because it's just a little bit smaller. But yeah, this is still a crazy cool vehicle. It's just not as cool as the AEV Wrangler in my opinion.